because we talk about farming condominiums, but for anyone who is not a real estate agent, if you don't know the word farming. Go ahead and define that, because you could think it was a farm with some pigs and cows, but that's not what we're talking about, right?
Oh, no. Okay.
Welcome to the Jennifer J. Hammond Podcast. Jennifer is a licensed realtor, educator, speaker, and best-selling author. Jennifer's goal is to help you find your yay in every day.
Hello. It's Jennifer J. Hammond. I'm so excited. I'm here with another experienced real estate agent, Mikki Shepard. Oh my gosh. She started in 1979, as we say. That feels like forever ago. But I mean, she has so much experience. So I am so excited to have you on the show. So first of all, Mikki, welcome.
Oh, welcome. Thank you. I'm glad to be here. Excited.
Well, I'm excited. We have so many topics to talk about, but let's start with one I don't think a lot of people know about. So tell us about farming condominiums.
That was something when I first got into real estate, I wound up very quickly on a condominium project. It was luxury condos in Colorado Springs. And it, before you knew it, I mean, that just took over, so much real estate school, and you learn how to do all these different things. Once there's a niche and you fall into it, that's it. And so it only made sense that there had to be a way to farm condominiums like you would do any area. And the nice thing was, since it was one main project with 200 units, I could walk, back when it felt safe to walk and knock on doors. And it really worked, because you wind up becoming actually friends with people that had already bought before I got there, people that bought since I had gotten there. And over the years, I mean, I even had one customer who had moved there because her husband had passed away. She's an older lady. And ever since her husband died, she stopped having happy hour. And it was so sad. And one night she said, "Could you come in just for a few minutes?" And I did. And it became a weekly thing because it just made her feel so good. But it's to me, if you're not farming something, whether it's a group, that you belong to, or your church, whatever your sphere of influence is, it's the same concept. The thing with condos was it was very, very concise, but it also put me in a situation, it could put anybody in a situation where I know there is no one who has as much experience with condos as I do. Right. And even I live in a small town upstate, and about probably 15, 20 years ago, they finally built a condominium project, and it was hysterical, in my opinion, to listen to people talk about this like it was this foreign thing that appeared. Well, no, it's it's not.
Well, and to clarify, you're talking about New York State. Yeah. You're upstate now, right?
Right. But I figured, with the ones I sold in Colorado Springs, they had a twist. You bought the condo, but the land was leased. And it was leased for 55 years, and then it was going to revert. Everybody knew it. I mean, it wasn't something you had to disclose this. It was pretty important. But the land was owned by the Hunt family, and they just wanted to control what was built. So, because you had this gorgeous view. But so I don't think there's a big difference. I mean, I did a newsletter, that type of thing back then. But I think the personal, if you can go by and see people, however often, once a month, once every 3 months, just something that is just friendly. It's not, "Hi, do you want to sell?" Or, "Hi, do you want to buy?" I mean, we are salespeople, and that's important that people know that. However, people need to know you care. And
absolutely. And let me stop you for a second, because we talk about farming condominiums. But for anyone who is not a real estate agent, if you don't know the word farming. Go ahead and define that, because you could think it was a farm with some pigs and cows, but that's not what we're talking about, right?
Oh, no. Okay. It's, if you think of farming, you sow, you plant seeds, and you take care of the land, and you help them grow. Farming condominiums is the same thing. Instead of just trying to advertise to the entire world, you're really picking a group that you just really want them to know more about their properties than anybody else. And if it is a case like it was with me, then, it was really, you became the expert. So you became the go-to person, whether they were buying or selling or not. They might have a question or a friend, but that was the first thing that would come to mind, is that I have to call Mikki. Or my husband was also involved, and they would call Mikki and Tom. I think everything said Mikki and Tom, but that's how it was. And so it's not with pigs and animals. It's with people and their homes.
Right. And then farming is a term that we use for marketing a specific niche. And
Right.
I wanted to make sure that people understand that. But I know there are so many real estate agents who listen, they understand what it means by farming. So
Right.
your niche was condominiums, but talk a little bit about that, because you've been in since 1979. And I know you've seen up markets, you've seen buyers markets and sellers market. But one of the things that I often recommend is that obviously brand new real estate agents, you pick a niche so that you can be successful. So yours was condominiums, but will you talk a little bit more about why focusing on a niche is so important to your success as a real estate agent?
Oh, I can. And even as a business coach, this is what we taught clients, that you can't market to the world. It's like putting an ad in the yellow pages. That's stupid. Oh, I'm sorry, but it is useless. You pick an area you want to concentrate on. And a lot of people recommend that you draw a 25-mile radius around your office and stay within that area. Technically, when you're licensed, you can sell anywhere in your state, but you can't possibly know everything about everywhere in your state. You can, however, know everything about one subdivision, one small town, one area of interest. Like I say, it doesn't have to be property bound. I mean, it can be a group. Maybe you belong to certain organizations and you just want to farm them, or attorneys.
Right.
Or medical people. You can pick anything and pick it, but once you start, you got to be consistent. And they have, it can't be, I'm going to specialize in this area and you tell everybody, but then they never hear from you again unless you want to sell them something. It has to be more consistent, some way you can get in touch with them. And it doesn't have to be big, or it doesn't have to be fancy. They don't really care. They really just care that you care. So whatever group you pick, and that's a good way to do it too, because if you're, let's say you choose a group, maybe, you belong to a group and that there's like 100 people in that group. That's a great size group, because, everybody buys or sells over a period of time. And NAR says it's like every 7 years, but even though they're not going to, you got to remember the ultimate goal is not just to sell or have them sell through you or buy something through you. It's who they know. And people, a referral is so much stronger than you finding somebody you've never met and trying to warm up to them. So your money is well spent on anything you do to just pick an area or a group and decide what you're going to do, something that has some connection, at least monthly. And it doesn't have to be in person. It can be it can be a call, it could be a postcard, it could be anything, a blog. I mean, with the internet, there's so many things you could be doing today to stay in touch. And I think that it's well worth it.
And one of the things that you also said is, when you become an expert in that niche, it's really important to become the expert. So don't just say you're the expert and then not become that expert. So know it. And that also means that in real estate, it's constantly changing. What we're doing and what we're seeing in every market, like right now, it's in the middle of this crazy year, 2022, and it's interest rates have increased. And in some places, it's a more of a seller's market. In other places, it's more of a buyer's market. And it's shifting, and it's block by block, it's house by house, it's price point, it's all those things. And so you really have to know whatever niche you've decided to know, be that expert and keep on learning. I think that's the other thing is so often, I hear people complain about their continuing education they have to do for their license. And I think, but we need to keep being updated on how we can be great as being a real estate agent, and whatever our niche is, we have to constantly be improving on that. So So farming is a way of marketing. And so yours was condominiums, but that was also the niche. So I think one of the best pieces of advice we can give people is to have a niche, but also to really become that expert and know, even what's upcoming, but also know what's happened in the past. Like if you're doing condominiums, know what has sold and, what were the differences between this one
Definitely.
or that one. Really understand them. But the other thing I know is you're known for is open your heart to open houses. You've done over 1,500 open houses as a real estate broker, originally obviously in Colorado Springs and now open in New York. But I have to say, people have mixed feelings, even as real estate agents, about open houses for marketing, whether you're trying to sell something or even sometimes people are doing open houses so that they can pick up buyers. So let's talk about open your hearts to open houses. Why do you say that?
Actually, my husband made up the title when the National Association wanted me to do a seminar. And they had heard that I had done a lot of open houses. And I had written an article, and that became the title of the article. And I think the principles then and now haven't changed. The only thing very different now is don't do it alone. Make sure you have a partner. But other than that, it's a very effective way. Like you say, it is an effective way to find buyers as well. I mean, when I got my license in New York, my mother was actually my broker, and I said, let me use one of your listings to have an open house. I mean, I've got to get known here because I wasn't known here. So, but that came natural to me. Now, one of the reasons, in all fairness, that it's 1,500, it's because of that condominium project. I mean, we were selling new condominiums. So we also had a model. But one of the best things I can tell anybody, if they may have listened to, like my friend Barb Schwartz, she talks about staging. And for anyone listening, whether you are in real estate or not, staging is important for any business. And how you stage things makes a big difference. You got to help people. If you're selling a house or a condo, but it's owned by a person, a homeowner, you have to educate them that the way you live in a house and the way you sell a house are two different things. And that, you want to lighten up. You're going to move anyway. So let's start packing now. So people get beyond your things and they start to really feel it. Now, in our case, when we back with the condos, when we were doing new ones, I mean, I didn't care if it was summer or winter. I mean, we had a fire going and the air conditioner on if we needed it, just because. What I have to tell you, the funniest thing, because I talked about this all the time in my seminars, people would walk in, it'd be July, and they'd walk into the condo that it's air conditioned, and they would head right for that fireplace and just start warming their hands. It's human nature to just do that without them even thinking, wait a minute, why do you have a fire going in July? It served its purpose. It's the little things. And, the little things with throwing a little bit of vanilla in an oven. I mean, it makes everything smell good because we don't notice the smells that are in a place. So when you're having an open house, you have to be so in tune to it.
Yeah.
Keep it short, and make sure it really looks its best. And I think people be surprised. It does help you find buyers. So it's not just going to help sell that house, because if that's all you needed to do, every for sale by owner in America would be sold. Right. They only have
talent. They got to understand the negotiating, the marketing. There's so much more to it. And you're right. I mean, the for sale by owners, I always kind of chuckle to myself because it just shows me how much they don't understand real estate when they try to do for sale by owner, because there's so many parts of the expertise. It's almost, it's like going to court without a lawyer, or going into, I'm going to go into surgery. No, I don't mind doing my own surgery.
I'll do it myself.
Of course you wouldn't do that.
No.
Especially with something that's so important with finances. It's such a big financial commitment. And then to do a for sale by owner, I'm always like, oh dear. So you're also a veteran, right?
Yes, I am. I was in the Air Force. During Vietnam era, I wasn't in Vietnam. I was at a hospital in San Antonio where a lot of the servicemen that were in Vietnam, they came back to Wilford Hall Medical Center. It was very, very cool job to be there and around the people that we were around, because it's the same place where basic training happens for the Air Force, but the medical area there was very advanced, and it was part of the University of Texas. So a lot more than just the service. It was, I'll tell you a little tiny story because I know it's about real estate, but we had a dental clinic where the astronauts came there to get their work done. And one year we got to train the Skylab astronauts. That was so cool. I mean, I kept thinking at the time, why are we training them in a dental clinic? But they pointed out, well, what are they supposed to do if they're up there and they get a toothache? They need to know how to do something. The little things we don't think of as we see things go, right? And so that was a very cool part of it. I really liked it. And I got the GI Bill, so it paid for college,
That's awesome. And I think and I thank you so much, because I think being a part of that, and thank you for your service. And it's so important that we all find ways that we can contribute and help. And that's such a great way, I think, to especially start your career before you got into real estate.
It was. It really was. I never once regretted it. Not when I did it, and not since. It was a very, very good experience. It sure teaches you to be efficient. I'll say that, which comes in handy in real estate. So let's face it.
And I've had many veterans say it's just important as any entrepreneur, a business owner, as we are as real estate agents, to understand all of the skills you have being in the military. You learn also how to get through the tough times, because I feel like in real estate, we end up with a lot of things that are unexpected that come up at a deal, and we have to be able to rally the troops, so to speak. We have to make sure that everybody is willing to continue with the deal, even when things don't go well.
No, it's true. When I first got into real estate, interest rates were 18%.
Yeah.
And so, back in 2008, 2009, when the market was turning rapidly, there were agents that hadn't been in that long. They only knew the good times. Yeah. And they're the ones that struggle when things switch. If you've been in a while, you've gone through the ups and downs, and they're different markets, but it's still a business. And it is interesting, though, to see the difference of, to me, when interest rates went down to, 4%, 3%, it was like, what? Everybody should be buying, because that's my mindset. But, but you do need to know how to go in each market. It can't just be, those great days. It has to be the tough ones, which honestly, that's when consumers need us more. It's very confusing to them, so it is. I think one of the things that's happened over the years is more and more people that have gotten into real estate have gotten in as a profession, not something short term or not just, part-time kind of thing, which I think was a big thing that changed over the years.
Yeah. And I know you also talk about the ability to say no, because so often as real estate agents, I think we are such pleasers. We're trying to always make everybody happy, but it is really important to understand there are so many aspects of this job, including saying no to a client, that is so important. I would love for you to talk just a little bit about that.
Oh, I can talk about that. That's something I learned the hard way, because I couldn't say no. And at one point, 1 year in my career, I counted that I had 13 jobs.
Oh,
two of which paid money. The rest were volunteer things. And, it was very, very hard to say no. And once I realized that it started becoming something that I was trying to be really conscious of. But it's not just the volunteer things. Like you say, it's also to buyers or sellers. Yeah. You can't please everybody.
Right.
And like, I think one of the things that happens too often, I hope not, but I do believe it does, is, people, a real estate agent will go out, they'll tell an owner what the property's worth. The owner decides it's worth about double that or something, much more. Right. And they take the listing anyway.
Yeah.
Why? It's not gonna be a happy ending, for one thing. And no, we can't just wait 30 days and lower the price. That's ridiculous. The best time is that first week. So you have to say no.
There's some principles. Yeah. And it definitely, and saying no, I think is so important, because like you said about somebody who thinks their house is worth twice as much as, I mean, it's overpriced, but when it's twice as much, it's so bad. And I think when I was younger, when I was in my 20s and I got into real estate, I often wouldn't tell people no when I should have, including when people just their house, they weren't ready to put it on the market. You talked about staging before. I have an entire course on teaching people how to stage their house and teaching real estate agents also how to talk to clients about staging, on whether you need a professional stager or you can do the staging yourself, or whether it's just the fact that, again, they have a price that's so unrealistic, it's never going to get to that price. And again, then you end up looking like the bad guy instead of just realizing from the very beginning you should have been truthful and said no.
Well, and isn't it interesting? I mean, those statistics show that when people do that, they take a seriously overpriced listing. It expires. They don't get it back. Why they would want it, I don't know. But somebody else comes along, tells the seller the truth. Again, they were told once, but tells it again, but makes it very clear that's what you need to put the house on the market, or I can recommend someone else. And then what happens? Then it sells, because they convince them. It's not a bidding game. They asked you to look at their property because they believe you're the professional, and they can't possibly know the market like you do.
Right.
They want to hear from you, but they want to hear straight. But you're right. I mean, we're going to have to say no. There are people that you just have to say no to. I have a rule with buyers, although I scared a buyer about a year and a half ago when I told them, I said, usually only show 3 houses. And they already had a list of 20 and got very nervous. But they're a friend of a friend. And so we started. I said, here's what we'll do. We'll go the first day. And that way we'll get a feel for what you like, what you don't like, and go from there. We looked at 3 houses. They bought the 3rd one. And mainly because we spent a lot of time on the phone, really hearing between the lines what they really wanted. And that's so, I think it's very, very important that
absolutely,
no, we're not going to go out and look at every house that's on the market. That's not practical.
Well, and it's exhausting for people, even though that's what they think they want. It's really important to just, again, I agree with you, to have a great conversation with people, to really understand them. And I found the more that you can have a conversation with them, and I know the first thing they do is they just want to go out and look at places. And partly because it's so easy right now to look at things online. You can look at all these pictures, you can do these virtual tours, you can walk the floor plan. So it becomes a lot, like people just feel like that's what they need to do, but that's why you're the professional and you need to help them understand, what are the things. And I usually say it to people, like, I can save you time and many, many steps. So would you like me to do that? And then I ask them, all these questions and we go through it. But I know we're about out of time. I wanted to make sure we talk about, you're a published author, and you've also, you've been in Real Estate Today magazine, Colorado Realtor, News, the Gazette, Telegraph, newspaper, all sorts of things. But you also have a published book. Will you talk a little bit about it?
I will. It actually fits into real estate. It's called In a Heartbeat, The Miracle of a Family That Was Meant to Be. It's a true story. It covers several generations, but most importantly, my son. My son was literally a real estate referral, and all because of a lot of networking and women's council. I wasn't asking anybody to send me a baby, but you learn, how you meet people, and people listen to you just like you listen. Well, I had a friend who listened on a trolley car in San Antonio during a real estate meeting. And at the end, she said, have you and Tom ever considered adopting? And I said, we've talked about it. And she said, would you if you could? I said, in a heartbeat. And then totally forgot about that conversation. 2 years later, we got a very surprise call out of nowhere saying, I'm a friend of a friend of my friend and I have a friend who decided this morning that she'd like to place her baby for adoption. She wants to know if you want him.
Wow.
And that call came while I was at a real estate meeting. And yes, we said yes, of course. And then I was in DC for the meetings that year, and the baby came early, so I had to leave and fly to be in the delivery room. So I'm very grateful to real estate, especially Women's Council, probably why we started a chapter up here. You have to pay it back. They changed my life and my husband's life. It was the best thing that ever happened. And now I obviously would love people to read the book. It's on everything, anywhere you can think of.
So I was going to say, would you tell people, how do they get more information about your book and your website? Where can they find you?
They can go real easy. They can go to adoptionasachoice, all one word, .com. If they go there, it'll talk about the book. It'll talk about my radio show. We're trying to raise awareness about adoption. And as a result of the book, they can also find out if they're interested in having a speaker. They can contact me about that. But there's a lot of information, and there's definitely a link to be able to purchase the book. It was endorsed by Tony Robbins, which was very exciting to me. And so it's a short read, but people tell me, I had someone tell me just a couple of weeks ago that she wrote a testimonial on Amazon saying it felt like I was sitting across the table from Mikki having a conversation. So that's the nice thing. And I think that's how people feel when they read it. And again, it's a true story. You never know. Might inspire someone.
Might inspire someone, which is the whole reason that we also do the podcast, is so that we can help inspire people to make good decisions in real estate, but also just to be inspirational and to be a leader in your own community. So thank you for all that you do. I appreciate it. And I know what it takes to put a book together. So well done on completing that. And as you know, I always end every podcast with a yay. So